Alright, welcome back to Do Your Damn Self. I was driving home yesterday and my truck overheated. I couldn't figure out what was going on, but the radiator hose was inflated like a balloon and air pressure was bubbling up inside the reservoir over there. That tells me the thermostat is stuck, unfortunately. So here it is, June in Texas. It's already 90 degrees at 9 a.m. So we need to get started on this thing before it gets too hot, because it's going to get hot, no doubt about it. I'm under my friend Oakley here, and we're going to get this thing done early this morning. All we're going to have to do is take off the intake right here. That's pretty much the only thing that's right in the way that I can see anyway. And just going to need a screwdriver here, take this off, put it out of the way. So hopefully we will get this knocked out early, and we can go inside and enjoy the rest of the day out of the heat. We are going to do this as easy as possible. Whenever you can, use power tools. Love them. Get these loose. You're going to have to take them completely off and then pull them off there. Got that loose from there. I don't have any special pliers for taking this off, but good old water pump pliers work just fine. I've already drained the radiator to get the excess fluid out of this thing. I have a bucket under there to catch the excess fluid so it doesn't go into my soil. It is very bad for dogs and cats to get into that, even though they love the taste of the sweetness of antifreeze. It's extremely bad for them and probably will kill them if they eat enough of it, so be careful with that. So make sure your radiator is drained. There's a plug straight down here just to loosen it up. Then take this hose off. Hopefully you'll have easy access to the bolts that are holding this thing on there. Alright, time to take out the radiator hose. I've got standard water pump pliers on this thing. You can get hose clamp pliers. They're very great and handy, but I don't happen to have any, so use what you got. Radiator hose out of the way. You're going to lose some fluid in here. You drained as much as you could. You wouldn't lose too much in here, but some is still going to be in here. Pull it out of the way. Alright, some trucks this is easier to get to. This one is not going to be that difficult, but not going to be that easy either. I've got the extension going to the bolts that are on this thing. They're 8mm. That is where it is. Got one over here and one on this side as well. You can't really see that one too well. But 2 bolts to take out. This spout should come right out, exposing the thermostat. Alright, this is hard to see. Carefully take it out. You don't want to break any connections to electrical systems which are very nearby that. Once it's loose, you can just spin this thing. That one's good and loose. This one is going to be tricky. We have to go under the serpentine belt to get to it. It's just out of sight in there. Maybe need a longer extension if this one doesn't work out. Let's try it. Carefully, don't put too much torque on it. I've got a rug laying on the ground underneath this thing in case the bolt does fall. It'll be there to catch it. Alright, the spout is ready to come off. See if we can get the bolt and the spout to come up together. So you don't have to worry about pulling it out of there and finding it. This is our thermostat. This is what was blocking the way. It has ceased to function. If it functioned normally, it would be opening up when it's hot. And for some reason, it has not done its job, so it is going to be replaced. Alright, this is the spout. This is where the radiator hose connects onto it. We'll need to clean off this corrosion here. This is how the thermostat aligns in there. As you can see, there's a little pin up here on top. The new one needs to align the same way as that. Make sure that happens. I went ahead and bought a more expensive brand of thermostat. I could have got one for 10 bucks. I went ahead and got one for 22. It has a lifetime warranty on it. This is the fail-safe brand. And I really don't feel like doing this in another 5 or 10 years. I want my truck to last a good long time, and I don't mind spending a couple of extra bucks to help make that happen. But what we need to do is remove the corrosion from here. Otherwise, you won't get a good seal on your radiator hose. And I always like to use power tools whenever I can. So, safety goggles. You don't want to remove any metal, just the corrosion. Wouldn't it be perfect? Just better. Look like that. This has been in there a very long time, so work it out carefully. Do not crack your housing. Don't take a big hammer and try to bash it out of there or chisel or anything. Just work it out really carefully. I've got a very small flathead screwdriver. Just try to work it. You can kind of see it starting to come loose there. See that? Do not damage the surfaces. Take it out carefully. It'll go back in the same way. Clean your surfaces off. All the old gasket material that's on there, take that off. Just take some light sandpaper, make sure all this goo is off of there. Clean it off really well. If there's any hard to get off gasket glue that's still on there, a little alcohol on a rag helps loosen all that up. Doesn't have to be perfect, it has to be pretty good. Don't get it in your eyes. Just work it on there until the glue comes off. Being that this is an older vehicle, your gasket material is not going to want to come off peacefully. It's going to have to come off in chunks. So be patient, get in there, make sure that all of the gasket is off of there, and it's going to be coming up in little pieces like this. And just make sure that you get all of that off of there. Take some light scraping, a little sanding, a little steel wool. That's what you got to do. So make sure you just get in there, get all of that off there, just really carefully. All right, I've got all the gasket material off of there, and I ran over it with a rag of alcohol. So you can see it's nice and clean. That way the new gasket material will stick to that. It has to be clean and it has to be as dry as possible. Alright, that is how the gasket should look sitting on the engine block right there. All the holes lined up just right. It's fitting nice and even on there. Make sure you can see the threads through both of the holes. Just like you did with your gasket, we're going to put some gasket sealer all around this thing. Don't get it on the thermostat itself, because you don't want to impede it opening and closing. You want a nice tight seal between the gasket and this. Not too much, that's how it should look right there. I'm going to put this thing back on there. What I'm going to do is start one bolt through here already. That way when I get it in place, I can feel that going into the hole and start to thread it. That way I can let it go and it shouldn't go too far. This sometimes takes a time or two and a few cuss words, so bear with me. Get that on there hand tight. Do the exact same thing with the other one and make sure it lines up just right. You can feel the bolt going in as you push it in there. So don't get frustrated if you don't get it right away. There's enough gasket sealer on there to make that gasket pull up nice and tight, and when it does, it'll squeeze all that gasket material and form a really nice seal. So don't get frustrated. This takes a little while, and of course you will get your hands dirty. Don't be afraid of that. Alright, I can see the gasket material coming out on both sides. It's a good thing. It means it's forming a nice tight bond. Everything is squeezed up nice and tight. I'm going to let that sit for a few minutes just to let everything cure and sort of grab. What's going to happen next, we're going to come back and put all our hoses back on, put our antifreeze back in. It's best to use fresh antifreeze. If your antifreeze is only a month or two old, it doesn't hurt to use it, but have a good look at it. Make sure it looks nice and clean. You're going to have a little corrosion on the inside of these hoses. Best thing to do is clean it out. Feel for any soft spots on the rubber. Make sure it doesn't give too much. If it's too soft, you'll need a new hose. If you see any cracks around the edges, you'll need a new hose. This one looks good and solid, so I'm going to reuse this one. Now I'm going to reattach radiator hose. As long as you're in a convenient spot, these are great. They hang on to this hose like nothing else. But in a tight area, these are a nightmare, trust me. So I'm going to use the OEM one for the top. For the bottom, get rid of this, go with a screw hose clamp. Can't go wrong with these. They aren't as strong as that always, but as long as you crank it down pretty good, you're in good shape. It goes on so much easier in tight areas. Pinch your finger with these. Trust me, you will not like it. Alright, that's good and snug. Alright. Reattach your air cleaner. And it goes on as easy as it came off. Just bang. Bang. Alright, you are ready to refill right here with antifreeze. I've looked at my old antifreeze over there. It's moderate, so I'll use fresh stuff for in here. What I want to do, fill it up there, start it, run the heater a little bit, stop it, add more. What we're doing is basically burping the system, getting the air bubbles out of there. All right, that was about 1.5 gallons in there. Let's cap it off. It is up to the cold fill line here. Loosely put it on there, and let's start it up, run it for a little while, keep the heater on, try to circulate some of the water in there, and see how low it is. Alright, it is at running temperature. The fluid doesn't seem to have drained down very much at all. I've had the heater on, so I'm going to drive it around a couple of days and let some of the air work its way out of the system. So basically we're ready to put away our tools. We need to keep an eye on the reservoir to make sure it stays at a good level in there. Keep it filled up. Eventually the air is going to work its way through the system, and we are going to just keep it topped off and keep the level good. So from here at Do It Your Damn Self, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Get into a project like this yourself. You'll save a whole lot of money. And don't be afraid to do it your damn self. Love you guys.